Good afternoon. It is Sunday, September 15th, 2019, and this is the Product Mentor Talk. Today we are joined by one of our mentors, Yossi, and he is going to talk to us about the MVP, how to build the right MVP. It might be a lot simpler than you think. Allow me to briefly explain today's format. The Product Mentor program was stood up to help create better product people by pairing experienced product professionals with people looking to advance their product capabilities. Each of the product mentors have many years of wonderful and diverse product experience, ranging from B2B to B2C to hard products and even service-related products. We are also joined today by the current mentees in the session. Everyone just quickly wave hello. Thank you. And you could, I would just see them all around your screen. Let's now go around and do some introductions in no particular order other than the order in which you appear on my screen. As a reminder, name, location, your current role, and whether you're a mentor or mentee in the program. Yossi.
Hey, Yossi, based in New York. I'm a mentor and very happy to be part of the network. I am a founder of a company called Upstack and advisor at a few different sort of scale-up startups. All right, can you guys all see that? Cool. So I would like the talk to be a little bit interactive. If you have any questions along the way, don't be shy. Just jump in and say whatever you want. I don't know if that's breaking the rules, but feel free to do that anyway. So basically what I'm going to be talking about is the MVP. MVP, the minimal viable product, is the classic word and phrase that sort of, is brandished around, and it means a lot of different things to different people in my experience. So I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that and share some of the thoughts that I had on the topic. So who am I? So as I said before, I'm an engineer, a product manager, a founder, an inventor, Australian originally. I moved to Brooklyn 3 years ago, father of 6 awesome kids. There's a little snapshot of some of the stuff that goes on in my life. So that's just a small fraction. I am also a founder of a company called Upstack. So I get to be involved a lot in helping scaling up companies, grow their engineering team with remote talent. Been doing a bunch of work with MealPal, Intercom, Joule, a bunch of other startups. So I help them really across the board a lot of the time. Sometimes they sort of come in a little bit more like an advisor. I'm pretty involved with MealPal, which you guys might know in New York, who are a fast-growing food tech startup, and have spent a lot of time with them from the very early stage all the way through to where they are now. I think they've raised over $35 million and a little bit more. And I love helping and giving back to people and just generally, helping people with stuff that I've already learned. I'm very passionate about building remote teams. That's one of the topics that I'm really big into. And I've previously been before I started my own company, I've been a product manager at Macquarie Bank, their retail stock trading platform. I've been a product owner on Career One, which is a monster-owned company in Australia, like a job board, and a bunch of other stuff as well that you could check out on LinkedIn. So sort of like a bit of a blend between engineering and product skills. So MVP, the classic line that comes out from the lean startup is the features and no more that allows you to ship a product that resonates with early adopters, some of whom will pay you money or give you feedback. So the whole idea is out there that you want to get something out to market, you want to start getting feedback quickly, but I do think it's misunderstood a lot of the time, and I'm going to explain. I think like there's this classic diagram that also comes from the lean startup like this, where it shows like you want to build a car. So you start off with let's say a skateboard over there on the extreme on the left. I'm not going to go into a lot of details here on this idea, But I think that this is where a lot of people go wrong. And what I mean by that is that you want to build a car, or you want to build a whole application that you have in mind, but it doesn't necessarily mean that what you need to build is a little bit of it. It doesn't mean that you need to build 10% of the car in order to start building. Sometimes you might find that you have to build something completely different. You have to start getting some feedback from customers, but what you actually end up building might not be a car, it might be a plane, it might be something completely different. And I think that that's where this talk is going to focus on, and something that I think is sort of a misconception of what the MVP really is. So what I see a lot, when I speak to startups, or I speak to people who just come across who might need some advice, is the following. They want it all, and they want it now, right? They want the whole thing. So they've already decided they want to build an app, or they want to build a website. They want to got this specific vision in mind, and they want to build the whole thing, right? Now, maybe maybe they'll decide that they're going to put a few features on hold, like build like 80% of it, or they're going to build 10% of it, or they're going to build some fraction of the thing that they want to build. But they think that the MVP, they're throwing around the word MVP, so it means that you can get it out cheaper and quicker, and it's just going to be super easy to get something out there. But they still sort of envisage really the full product, maybe a small chunk of it. So that's where I think we can maybe do something a little bit different. This is an example. Who's heard something like this? I want to build an Uber, but for pickle delivery, right? That's pretty simple, right? Uber, you just go there, you press a button, it knows where you are. I want to build the Uber for something, or I want to build something. Oh yeah, and can I build that in 6 weeks? Is that possible? I just want to get something out there. Little have they thought about that Uber has, a buildings full of engineers building all of the stuff that happens behind the scenes. There's always a lot more to do, and so how do you actually start? So I come across this so often in my day-to-day life, these discussions, and what I normally do is start thinking about, how do you distill this down? I think the MVP process is more about distilling it right down to the bare basics, cutting it right back to the bare basics, and then building back up from there. So, and you'll see what I mean by that. Now, it's really, really important at this stage to get the right foundation for your product in place. And that's why I feel that just doing 10%, 20% of what you imagine the whole thing being might not even be the right direction to go on. You might be going off on the wrong direction. An MVP is not just to save money or time. It's the only way to really move it's really the only way to, if you do the MVP right, it's really the only correct way to sort of move your product idea forwards. Building 20% of the wrong thing isn't going to help. It's going to probably cause a lot of issues. It's sort of like the idea of a tree growing. If you make a little scratch on the seed, and it can affect the entire way the tree grows, and it can grow off in different sort of ways and stuff like that. You've got to get the initial sapling in the right direction is super important. So a little bit of a meditation here for anyone who's thinking of building a product. And I was actually had a meeting the other day with the CEO at MealPal, and I was talking about how important product market fit is, and how important that that moment is when you actually have customers that love what you build. So if you're thinking about fundraising and those discussions that you can have, it is, imagine these two different conversations, right? I've got a great idea, right? I want to build my Uber for pickles. I want to build my idea. I've got some great mock-ups. I've got it in InVision even, right? Got it all sorted out. You guys want to invest? Anyone want to invest, right? That's a tough discussion, right? That's a really, really difficult discussion. That is, I wouldn't even want to have that discussion, let alone invest in something like that at that point, and I think it may have happened in the past. Maybe if the person is a really, really successful entrepreneur and they've done something before, you can have these sorts of discussions because people are investing more in the person, but not really going to happen. What about if you had a discussion like this, where it was like, I've got 20 paying customers and I've generated $1,000 in revenue, not a lot of money, but something, right? Here are the things that I've learned, and here are the next steps. Do you want to invest? I mean, that is a much more enjoyable conversation to have hey, I've already got someone paying me for this particular thing that I want to do. That's pretty exciting, that's already starting to get some sort of, product market fit, right? So that leads on to the next idea of product market fit, where you have, it really should be called market product fit in my mind, that the market is who you're selling to, who you're really, servicing. And, you have the market, you've got the people, and they're paying for your product or using your product in some form. Obviously, paying is a great way of seeing if someone likes something. So I think that sort of discussion is really, would just be so much more enjoyable when raising money. I have revenue already. I've already got customers. So only 22% of companies actually find product market fit, right? They only find that connection. They only find something that product that, users are going to love. And so that other, rest of the people, I mean, I don't know what happens to those companies. They probably just like hang around and keep trying, or maybe they iterate. But I think it's really important to remember that if you get this part right, if you can build a product that users are really going to love, that's really changing your life forever. So this isn't like sort of like a side project that you do while you're getting your startup going, and you just want to see, you got to build this product. In the meantime, you might do some research or something. Like getting out there and seeing what customers really want, what the market really wants, and making that fit work is really everything. Like that's enough to take you from being sort of an inventor or an idea and having a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars or billions, like that's the difference. It's life-changing stuff, right? So getting it right at that early stage is really, really important. So I sort of think about it as like savoring the product market fit, like eating a nice piece of chocolate. It's not something that you have to rush. You can just enjoy the taste, you can enjoy the process. You can think about your market. Who is your market? Who are the people that you want to sell to? Why not just stop and think about it? Why not talk to them? Why not understand what they're really doing? So you've got your market, yeah. The customers that you can make happy with what you want to create, right? Just start with them. Then you've got your product or your service, and it might not actually end up being what you thought. You might think I need an app. You might think that you need a website. You might think you want to build something. Be open to the product evolving into something else when you're going through this process of product market fit. Now, thinking about your market, thinking about your customers, start thinking, you really try and get into their shoes, think about the pain that they're feeling, think about how can you find those customers? How can you speak to them and feel the world that they're in? I think that's really, really important. Now, think about, are you building this product just for the product's sake? Is it something that you really want to build? Or are you really thinking about the way that your customers want to use it, and how you're going to make something that they're going to love? Because it really is all about them. I think if you're going to go out there building something that you want, that's a recipe for disaster. Now, why also? Avoid spending the next, I've seen this so many times, right? But avoid spending the next 6 months, like designing something, making decisions in a bubble, developing something, realizing that, releasing that to the world, and then bragging to your grandmother that you've got this awesome startup and telling your friends, oh, cool, this is what I'm doing, I'm super busy. And meanwhile, no one's even touched this thing. No one's ever even used it, right? No one's ever actually touched your product. You have absolutely no idea. Your grandmother's going to be really impressed at this point. Your friends are going to be impressed. You got your office and you're sitting in there and you're going every day and you seem busy and you feel busy, but you might not really be creating the right thing. So this is when I've come up with what I call my Renegade MVP approach, right? Now, before I dive into this, what I often do and what I often say to people is like, what is the bare minimum that you need to do in order to sort of test this out and to get one paying customer, right? And it may not be what people want to hear, but there are ways of actually starting to speak to customers super early in the process. So what I did was I took an example myself, actually, from my mentee. I was like chatting to him and I was like, help me come up with an idea of something, because I actually had tried this on another area and didn't get much of a traction from it on just another concept. And then, so he came up with an idea about house hunters. So basically he was looking for an apartment in the UK and finding it really, really difficult. And so the idea was essentially a concierge service for house hunters. The exact idea doesn't really matter that much. It's really just to make the point about, you know, who is your customer? You know, in this particular case, it's like local people who are looking for an apartment rental. They're feeling the pain. They're trying to find something, you know, and it's tough. You know, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of houses out there. So I thought, look, let me take that idea. What I would normally say to someone who came along and said, I want to build this, I'd be like, well, why don't you, I don't know, post an ad on Craigslist or give out some flyers and get a 1-800 number and start selling, you know, your idea, right? So what's the basic, you know, the basics that you'd need to be able to get a paying customer for your idea, right? Forget about the whole app you want to build, forget about the whole website. Maybe just setting up the company, a landing page, a 1-800 number, and a Craigslist ad is all you need to get a customer, right? And you might be able to do that in 2 weeks or like 1 month or 3 days, right? And you might be able to go to your, you know, investors and say to them, hey, I've already got that paying customer. I'm already earning, you know, generating revenue. I'm already profitable for that matter, right? Maybe you don't want to be profitable in case you like, you know, and we have to be bound by the rules of like actually like a, you know, a sound business, right? So that's what we started to do in this, you know, well, that's what I took the idea from my mentee and I put an ad up on Craigslist, right? So I became a broker, right? This was last week. And I posted it up there and I said, hey, I didn't even know like what to do. I was like copying and pasting from other ads. And then he had like this whole idea of having a Ford Mustang driving you around from house to house and stuff like that. So it was a little bit of a nonsensical ad that I put up in New York. It cost me $5, right? Or $10 or something to put it up. And, you know, it was really, really interesting because I had this apartment, which is 1,000 feet. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't 1 bedroom, whatever it was. So I put it up there and I started to get people messaging. So, you know, I started to get all these SMSs coming in, you know, saying, oh, hey, you know, looking for, you know, an apartment in Wall Street and, you know, my daughter is moving there for college. And I started to receive all these messages and I just thought, wow, these are the customers, right? This is the market, right? So pretty quickly with this experiment, I was able to get access to the target market for this concept. You know, I am in a completely different world than going off and building something for the next 6 months. I'm now in a position where I can actually start speaking to people. These people were very open. I was replying back. I was asking them like, what are they looking for and things like that. Eventually I got to the point where I realized, okay, I sort of have to stop here because I don't really have any apartments to rent them. So, so I sort of, you know, left it, but it was just a really interesting experiment because I'd been telling people this for a long time and I felt a little bit guilty that I'd never really done it. So I went off and did it. And, you know, I think that the exercise is more of a meditation necessarily than really what you would do. But, you know, I actually think that you might find that you could probably create a really good business with something like this, maybe some Airtable forms or some Google forms. And actually, I mean, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends who are complaining they can't start a business, they don't know what to do. I probably could have closed a deal and made a month's brokerage. I don't know if that's legal, but. So what might happen when you do this process, and this happens to me all the time, founders get really annoyed with this approach, right? Because they're fixated on their app, right? Or their website that they want to build. And they're like, oh, I don't want to go and like, you know, actually start doing the actual thing and speaking to real customers or whatever. I just want to like build this thing and, you know, try and raise $200,000 in seed money or whatever it is. You know, so founders really can often get annoyed by this approach. They're really fixated. But what might happen is that, you know, you really start thinking about what's really needed, what you actually really need to do. You have a chance to speak to the potential clients, your customer, your market, right? You get into the world of your customers. You know, you can ask questions. You might even start generating revenue, and you might realize that you don't need an app, right? And you might have to go back to your grandmother and tell her, sorry, I didn't end up building that app in the end, and she might be a bit disappointed, right? So yeah, I mean, you guys probably know a lot about this, but setting up a company is super easy. Like $300 to $500 and on Clerky, and you've got your company set up, getting your landing page set up, having Airtable with different sign up forms, 1-800 number on Grasshopper, and a post on Craigslist, and you're pretty much good to go. And you'll probably appear as big as, I don't know, some big corporate that's out there just by sort of putting that together. So that was a little experiment to sort of prove the point and feel through the process of how to distill a product down to its core bare bones basics, and then building what you need to build in order to actually facilitate that, rather than the dream that you have in your mind. Go and get it. Yeah, so try it out, even if it's just a meditative way, but it might even be something practical. Ping me anytime if you want something. It's my email address there, Yossi@upstack.co. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Any questions?
How did people respond when you told them that it wasn't real?
Oh, I just ignored them after that. And they probably get ignored all the time, right? It's New York. This is New York. Like, New York is, poof. Yeah. No, I've had people following up and they're like, oh, hey, did you get my message? And I just, yeah. But yeah, maybe if I was in like a small town or something, people would take it really personally. But yeah.